Today we're going to be covering best practices for managing multiple communities, and you'll kind of quickly understand why I'm talking about that topic today. So a little bit about Canton Financial Institute. They have been kind of the premier training services company for financial services for the past 50 years. So they're really substantial, really established, and it's such a great organization to work for because they have people that are very passionate about their jobs, which is fantastic. So it's kind of one of our mottos up there is we exist to champion the cause of people who want to make a difference for society, the financial services industry, and the clients they serve. And so what I didn't put on there is we help solve problems and create problem solvers. So just tack that in the back of your mind for just a second, okay? All right. So how we use Bloomfire, how this kind of came to be. Everybody remembers 2008? Yay, sure you do. All right, so with the financial crisis of 2008, obviously being a financial services training company, there were a lot of things that we had to adjust. So years went by and we started looking for ways to provide scale and then decrease costs, because you can imagine bringing in a financial advisor trainer to a company and then flying everybody in, as you all know, can get very expensive. So we're looking to create economies of scale. So the way we do that with Bloomfire, two ways, is we have a structured experience with a coach. So this is going to be very different probably from the way that 95% of you in the room use the platform. We have very structured experiences that we put people through. One we have is an 8-week experience, and about once a month we bring 150 people onto the platform in different communities and small groups of about 8 to 10 people. So now you know why I'm talking about managing multiple communities, because I manage probably 20, 25 communities, different communities, once every other month. So we have a structured experience with a coach, and what that means is we provide them a weekly series or roll them out more information on a weekly basis, and they have a coach which is in there to then moderate the conversation with the participants. So we don't just leave them in there for the experience by themselves. We have a coach that is in there that helps them moderate through the experience. The other way that we leverage the Bloomfire platform is we have sustainment experiences between our on-site programs. So we have schools that one-week schools that we have all across the country that we do, where we have our trainers come in and train on various technical topics. And then we also have on-site programs at companies where we go in and we bring people in and they have just a soft skills kind of sales training experience. So those are typically things that you go to in multiple iterations of. You go to level 1, level 2, level 3. And so we use Bloomfire to sustain the experiences between those on-site solutions that we have. So we're either in a structured experience or you have kind of an on-site program where you're going through. All right, so we're going to talk about two things today, because from a training organization, we really like to numerically frame things. So we're going to have two. We're going to have two things we're going to talk about. Is onboarding experience for new classes, because it's something I do once a month, so it's kind of near and dear to my heart and very important for managing multiple communities. And then we're going to talk about just 4 to 5 key takeaways that I've learned over the past 3 years of doing this once a month. Okay, so onboarding new classes. The way that we handle, because we have so many communities, we have one master community where we keep all of our content. So it keeps everybody organized, it keeps everything all in one place. You have one spot to go to then make sure that all the edits are done, and then you can publish it out to all the rest of the communities, okay? So we just have one place where everybody can go, and it's very handy for me because if somebody has a question or if they need to make a change, I can send them to one place instead of just having them pick from 20 communities I can go select. Have a consistent naming structure. All right, I have a question for you guys. Who created an email address when they were probably 11 or 12 and they're not super proud of what that is now? Okay, so when you're naming your community, you have two options. You can be cute and clever, or you can be informative. You can't be both. You can be cute and clever, or you can be informative. If you're going to be cute and clever, whoever's signing that check should probably sign off on that cute and clever name. And if just be consistent with it, use numbers or use letters, pick one, but stick with it, because if you all know, you've been through this kind of process before, if something comes out of somebody's mouth and it gets written down in a document, now you're stuck with it. So just be really, really intentional about that. Using bulk import, very important. Don't just be IT, be classy. Use proper case. fill in as much information as you can for the participants, or if there's administrative things that you need to see as a part of their profile, go ahead and put those in there, and then use the bulk import feature to your advantage. With the bulk import feature, I'm pretty sure it doesn't send out the welcome email, right, Chad? That's no welcome email, which is what I like. You may not like that, but that's huge for me because we have a very structured system that we go through to get them on the platform, because we have about 150 people come on every month. So we tell them what we want them to know, and then we tell them again what we just told them, and then we remind them of what we told them. And so we do a lot of that. So the welcome email is really handy. You want to make sure that you have a link to the platform in there. So go ahead and give them a way to do it. Set expectations for participation. I'm not sure, I haven't heard much of that, but like you need to spend 2 hours a week, or you need to spend 3 hours a week, or it should be 8 hours of your job. Just setting expectations up front is really important, especially when somebody's getting a grade. So so have a welcome email, just be really structured with it. Also, the last thing here for onboarding is schedule a kickoff call with a sponsor. And sponsor doesn't mean necessarily somebody in your department that decided Bloomfire was a good idea. Really the person who's paying for the check. So not necessarily the person who signed that check, but the people that are funding that check. So if it's the business side, or if it's the learning team, whoever the big person is that is supporting you and sponsoring you, either they need to be on the kickoff call, or they need to have somebody directly underneath them be on the kickoff call to get things started. Because that really enhances adoption. If it's important to a senior executive, it's going to be important to them. They're going to want to be more engaged. Also on the kickoff call, what other thing we put in the welcome email that's really important is we give them instructions on how to access the platform, but we also go ahead and give them their mobile instructions. So when we were trying to figure out how we were going to leverage Bloomfire, the one thing that's very, very, very near and dear to our hearts and important to us is making sure that participants leave the experience actually being able to perform the activities and the things that we're training them to do, like actually go home and do it. So we want them to be able to practice. So in a normal classroom environment, we'll do an exercise like we did here. So everybody gets together, they write it on the board, they put it and talk about it. Or there's two people and they're talking about their value proposition and they're crafting those things and working together. So video is a huge component of what we do, and they do that via their mobile devices. So that is not my topic. So if you'd like to talk to me about that, we can. So it's really important to put instructions on how they do that. With about 150 people coming on every month, it's really important to have clear instructions on that. And then also on the kickoff call, we walk through everything that we're going to ask them to do in the platform, so that they know what to expect and what's coming up. All right, so 4 or 5-ish takeaways. All right, have a community change plan and a community change process. Meaning, the financial services industry is a heavily regulated environment. HR departments have to know what kind of training was received, when it was received, what actually the words, they want to see the words that were on the page. So it's really important to know if people are coming in and out of the platform, how that is happening. So just have a process around that. Make sure you have a way to track it, because somebody will come and ask you that question. Like, it will happen, so just kind of be prepared for that. Have a master user. With the amount of people we have coming in and out of the platform, they don't need to know my name. They really don't. They do not need to call and ask for Lauren Sanders. They need to call and ask for Cannon. So we have our own separate support line. We have our own separate email address. So my actual user in the platform is more of an administrative master user. So they don't ever know that they're communicating with me. They're communicating with a team of people. And that's really important because I don't have that much time in my day. Okay. Introduction series. Anytime we start a new class, there's an introduction series they have to complete. And by I mean have to complete is we do kind of look at that and make sure they're going through, and then we refer them back to it. It's really nice because they're probably not going to do it. That's fine, but you call and ask me a question that's in the introduction series. I'm probably going to point you back there before I answer that question. So in the introduction series, we actually have a welcome video and a kickoff demo video that goes through the platform. So I don't know if you all have that available for your participants, but we have an introduction series that, again, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them again. So we just walk them through everything they're going to do in the platform to just make sure they have a good understanding of of what to expect, and then they can't complain that they didn't know how to do it because we showed them how to do it, and then again and again. And this is really boring, and I thank Lori for this slide because my slide before was really sad. So a folder structure, it's so important to stay organized. Again, I'm definitely not the only person at Canon that supports the Bloomfire experience and our social learning experience. So it is, back to the documentation. It is so important to have everything organized. I actually just number everything. Everything has a number. We're very number oriented. So everything has a number. So there's folder 1, folder 2, folder 3, folder 4. Yeah.
Where is your folder structure?
Folder structure. So my folder structure is actually, I believe it's on our server. So because we deal with sensitive information, we have to have things compartmentalized, especially when it's client email addresses. You can't have that just kind of willy-nilly everywhere, so you've got to have that pretty locked down. So that's where we have our folder structure. So when I'm training someone that is at Canon that is going to help me with this particular process, I can just come in and say, you're always going to go to folder number 5 or you're going to folder number 2. But just have something consistent, because if you have as many communities, if you have 10, 11, 12, 15, 20 communities that you're dealing with, or even 20 groups that you're dealing with, it's really important for somebody needs to know what you're doing, because you're not going to be there, or you're going to be out, or something is going to happen, you're going to go on maternity leave. Somebody needs to know how to do your job. And I'm just a huge advocate of not being irreplaceable. I want somebody to be able to come in and then pick up where I have left off if I need to do something else or go on vacation. Okay, so dealing with clients and companies that are very used to an LMS style reporting, I have built a rocket ship for reporting, and then watch that fail. So my suggestion for you here is heed my words of advice. As simple as you can be with the metrics that you're reporting back. I could have conversations for hours about how to report engagement and like the trials and tribulations of going through that. So I would just say, from a reporting perspective, from analytics, just make it as simple as possible. Just communicate a couple of numbers. People really don't want to know the details. They don't want to know the details that you do, because they're trusting that you're taking care of that, right? So just don't make it too complicated. And I believe that's it.